And I think if our ancestors could see us, and I think they do, they would be so proud of how we've continued their work. I think we're standing in a place where so many of the movements for global justice around the world drew their inspiration, where people looked, as we have, at the heart of the global economy, whether it was colonization or the transatlantic slave trade, and said, this is wrong. I don't care if it's the engine of the global economy. I don't care if there are billions and billions of dollars invested in it. It is wrong and it must be dismantled. Done in this very special and important place, Ghana. Emily mentioned her grandmother, asking her what she came here to do. When I go home, I get the same thing. And, the kind of work that we do is a little bit hard to explain, right? And once a group of colleagues of mine from around the world or around the country were visiting Miami, so my parents invited everyone over for Jamaican food. And so as is our custom, we all stood around the dining table and held hands and prayed. So my mother said the prayer and she said all the things. And then she said, and God bless these young people, Lord, as they go back to their communities to do whatever it is they do. And that could have really been any of our mothers, because it really is hard to talk about what we do. But when I go home, I'll talk about some of the questions that we asked and answered. For example, where is the sustained prosperity and growth that deregulation, privatization, and free trade were supposed to deliver? Who does not know that democracy and justice have survived in spite of free market fundamentalism rather than because of it? Who now does not know that the lightning speed with which trillions of dollars were mobilized to rescue corrupt banks and financial institutions has made a mockery of the request for patience that countries and communities of the world have been asked to provide for decades in favor of the failed experiments in economics and finance. The logic that underpins the assumption of the economic development models which we have been force-fed for all these decades and which now stand naked and discredited would be laughable if it were not for the staggering toll in lost lives and squandered potential. I've got good news and bad news today. First, the bad news. In my home country, the perfect storm of failing financial institutions, weak democratic infrastructure, and the tattered safety net shredded by decades of cuts in the name of efficiency stands now in tatters. I live in the richest country in the world, in the same place where 40 million people do not have access to health care. I live in a country where 13 million undocumented immigrants are hounded every day, driven underground, and treated like terrorists, with no recognition that the economic policies like NAFTA drive people from their homes in desperation. And really, don't we all know that 13.1 million people can't get into your country unless someone wants them there? 13 million people cannot get into your country unless your economic model requires millions of vulnerable and unprotected workers in order to work.